Hey guys, it's me, Nikki again. This time, very dolled up. I'm on my way to do a bit of a fun photo shoot. So, I thought I would do one to show you guys what I look like when I do a lot of makeup. But I didn't do my makeup this time. This time I got my fiance to do my makeup. So, she does it a lot better than I do, unfortunately. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. She says I'm lying, but I'm not, because she's good. Anyway, this is going to be a bit more of an upbeat video. As you guys know, or some of you might know, I created an email address for people to get hold of me if they needed to, because I don't really check my YouTube as often as I'd like to, purely just because I'm busy and it's the end of the year and it's crazy. Yes, this is the sign for crazy. And I suppose I could just put my face as the sign for crazy. And a friend emailed me. I have had a few, and they asked if I could do a video for the parents of transgender children, which I kind of like the idea of, because I've done a lot for people going through the transition and how it feels and how what's going to happen to you and stuff, but I haven't really explained it for the parents. And I know this is one thing my mom struggled with, and my parents and my family struggled with, because one of my mom's biggest regrets, or one of the things that got to her the most, was that she didn't tell earlier. She beat herself up because she had felt that I had been alone for all those years because I had not spoken to her. I didn't feel like I could speak to her, or at least that's what she thinks. So if you're a transgender person, and you're kind of struggling to get through to your parents, you can show them this. Hopefully it'll help enlighten them a little bit more. And if you're not transgender and you're about to become a parent, maybe this will help you just keep an eye out for things, or just help you keep an open mind when it comes to raising your children. I'm not like a psychologist or whatever, but I do have my experiences, and that's basically what I speak from. Sorry, I keep playing with my hair. I'm going to stop. Done. Okay, so, hi parents. Okay, so my friend who emailed me, named Belle, hi Belle, asked me to tell parents about the good side of being trans. Okay, so I'm gonna end off with that. Okay, so my mom didn't know I was trans at all until I told her, and that was like 21, 22, somewhere around there. And she had no idea that I was trans. I hid it very well. I was very boyish. In my early developmental stages, like so 4, 5, 6, I would play an effeminate role. Because once at that age, you can't really tell if you're, kids don't have a sexuality. They don't really have a gender. Aside from what their parents place on them, I came out of my mom, and a doctor looked between my legs and went, "Oh, it's got a penis. It's a boy." And that's a stupid way of judging, because I'm not a boy, And from that point, that kid's future is determined. You as a parent will look at that kid and go, "Okay, well, it's got a penis, so it must like blue, it must play with cars, it must do this, it must do that." And that's all that kid knows. You see these things like children don't grow up racist, they get taught to be racist. And it's a similar concept. You don't grow up a boy, you get taught to be a boy. By your parents, you get taught what is masculine and what is feminine. And you get bombarded from social media and from TV and things like that. So, and because of that, I would play these feminine roles in games, because I'd mimic what I'd seen on TV, girls doing, the damsel in distress and things like that. And because of that, my cousins and stuff who are all boys would be like, "That's wrong, can't do that," and I'd feel ashamed because of that. So I hid it. I felt ashamed, so I was like, "Okay, well then what you guys are doing must be right, so I'll follow you." And I started that. So my parents didn't really get to see that part. Parents are always busy, and you kind of don't see the subtleties that happen. When I was small, I wanted to be Baby Spice. It was like the biggest dream in my world, and I'm sure I told my mom at some point. But you kind of like, you brush over it, and like, for me, that was a cry out, going, this is who I want to be. So it was a bit of a thing. So when raising, like my advice to parents, like when your children are really young, listen to them. Like, yes, you do get a period where children have penis envy or vagina envy, and it is a thing. But if it goes further than that, it may be worthwhile taking into consideration and maybe keeping a bit of an open mind and just watching your child. I also am a fan of raising a child gender neutral until they make their own decision, you know, based on whatever they see around them, but not being forced upon by the parents. You know, my parents never really forced things onto me, but I had it from my peers. And, but, you know, having a boy and being like, blue, cars, this, that. I recently did photo shoot. I was working. We were doing kids' Christmas cards, and it was quite interesting to see the different types of parents with their children. And we were shooting quite young children, and you know, and you could see like it was a swan, and it was very pretty and things like that. But you could see the parents, the dads, come in with their boys and being like, if you do this, I'll get you a bike, and if you do this, I'll do, you know, and having to resort to bribing them with boyish things because they've been taught that to shoot with a swan and a pretty tree and a thing is feminine. And it made me quite sad because I was like, you're just reinforcing what society expects those kids to be. They loved it. They themselves loved the set, but the dad was the one going, no, it's not right, it's a bit feminine. You know, so it got to me. And then another person came in with their boy in clothing, and they were like, oh, at least it looks like a boy. Like, why would it be a bad thing if he looked feminine, you know? So these are the things that got to me, and these subtle little things in the kid's early phase of their life molds them, you know. And if they are transgender, if they are born male, they'll get to 3 or 4 or 5, and they will eventually realize that that's not who they are, you know. And yes, there's going to be people who go, yes, but what a kid plays with doesn't define the gender. Girls can play with cars too. Yes, they can. I completely agree. But when a child doesn't want to go into the opposite gender's bathroom, or when a child like refuses point blank to wear the clothes that's assigned for them, or when a child cries themselves to sleep because they wish they had a penis or wish they had a vagina, that's a pretty strong telltale sign. That goes a little bit further than penis or vagina envy. So those are the things that you kind of need to watch out for. You know, like that's a bit of a red sign. I have a sibling who's also transgender. Hey Ray, what up? And you know, he was born in a female body, but identifies wholly as male, and he has done so since he was like 4, and it's part of the reason why I make myself so public, because it also helps him realize that it's okay for him to be himself. And he used to refuse to go into the female's bathroom. He refused to wear girls' clothes. He refused, like point blank, like from like 4 years old, knew who he was. Like there was no confusion, there was no outside interference, there was no, you know. And also my coming out kind of helped my parents identify that. They had a suspicion, they had it, but they, you know, they were kind of unsure until I was like, okay, well, this is me. And then they were like, oh, okay, it's possible. So those are things to watch out for. The day I told my mom, and she accepted me, was the happiest day of my life. I spent, because it was at a birthday party, I have discussed this in another video, but I was at a friend's birthday party and I was wearing a dress because it was a cross-dress party. My friend did it specifically so I could be myself. And I sent my mom a photo, and she was like, oh, thank you for giving me the daughter I always wanted. And at that point, I was like, okay, Mom, I need to tell you I'm trans, you know? And she was like, okay, that's cool. We'll get you the help you need and stuff like that. And that was like, the fact that it wasn't like a huge thing, and I'm very lucky. There are people who get openly rejected by their parents. But the fact that mine was so forgiving and so like accepting and so, you know, cool with it was the happiest day of my life. I had told a couple people before that, but obviously no one is as important to me as my own mother, and so for her, acceptance was everything to me. So, you know, so parents, if your child seems like they want to tell you, or if they do tell you, if you're shocked or not, if you agree or not, it's your decision. The only thing you have control over, and I'm telling you this because I guarantee you now, you have no control over anything else that has to do with that kid when it comes to their gender. So the one thing that you can control is your reaction. You can control yourself to flip out and go crazy, but I tell you that kid will resent you for the rest of your life. That kid will be depressed. They'll never share anything with you again. They will hate you. So just to let you know, like, that's what will happen. They will not share anything with you again. They will go so far into the closet, and that's when depression starts hitting in, and that's when thoughts of suicide start hitting. And that happened to me. I thought of killing myself hundreds of times. If you were to look at my thighs, I've cut my thighs to shreds. I've got scars everywhere. That's quite a personal thing, but it is real. And but that was from rejection from peers, not rejection from my parents. My parents were always super, super, super supportive. So again, parents, when your child does come out to you, and it'll be the hardest thing they'll ever have to do, because they'll be scared of rejection from their parents, because everybody hears of stories of parents rejecting them. So your only choice you have is to either flip out, in which case you push your child so far away you might never get them back, or to accept them, whether you agree or not. That is something to be discussed at a later point. But you can say to them, okay, I don't understand it, but I accept it. I'm willing to learn to accept it. I'm willing to, if you speak to me, I will try and understand. That little bit of acceptance will make that kid love you more than you will ever have been loved anymore. And you will make that kid's life. I'm getting goosebumps, because it's such an overwhelming feeling, having hidden something like that from your parents, from the people who take care of you, from the people who raise you, to be accepted as who you really are, when that's your biggest fear, is to be rejected by your parents for who you really are. So if anything, when someone comes up to you, just say that you accept it. Even if at that point you don't, just say you do, and then do research. You can contact me, you can contact a therapist somewhere, but that moment there is the most pivotal moment of that kid's life. And to shoot them down for any reason is the most harsh thing you could ever do. Okay, so that's that point. And yes, it can go very bad or very right, and that's the pivotal moment. That kid's transition will go left or right from that point, generally. Like, this is in my experience and in some other girls that I know who have experienced certain things. I'm not going to speak about them because they're also on YouTube and things like that. But so if you reject them and if you don't agree with them and everything, that leads to a life of depression, of self-loathing, of perhaps drug abuse, alcohol abuse, because from there they will feel ashamed, whether they accept themselves or not. They might run away, they might attempt suicide, they might drink themselves into a coma, they might do drugs just to numb the world they're in, because from there they will believe that everybody hates them. And that is the morbid side. And that's a side you actually hear quite a lot in social media and stuff. You often hear about trans girls or trans guys killing themselves or severe depression, and it is a case. But I'm not going to harp on about that because we know about that. So I'm going to talk about, and this is what they'll ask me to speak about, at being trans, the good side of being trans. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my experiences. Physically speaking, before I started my hormones, I was sick at least once a month. I would have tonsillitis, bronchitis, flu, colds, I had pneumonia, I had pleurisy, I had, I was sick very often, very sickly, and for no specific reason. I was fitter than I'd ever been. I gymed 6 times a week, I ate extremely healthy, I took care of my body, but I was sick, and I didn't even pick this up until a friend mentioned it. Once I started my hormones, I haven't been sick. In 21 months, I've maybe had a flu for a day. I haven't actually been sick. And it was brought up by a friend of mine who asked me, she was like, well, have you been sick at all? And I realized that I hadn't. And I can only put this down to the fact that my body and my mind and my soul are not fighting one another anymore. I'm not fighting myself to be myself, because I was rejecting who I was. And this was putting a lot of strain onto my body, which was causing me to melt down, was break down, I was run down, so this would cause me to get very sick. The moment I accepted who I was, the moment I started my hormones, the moment I came out to the world, so I didn't have to hide, even if I was dirt ugly, even if I am dirt ugly, I don't know, the fact that I accepted myself was the biggest thing and the biggest benefit for my health, because Now I hardly ever get sick, and I'm nowhere near as healthy as I was back then. I don't exercise as often as I used to, as I should. I don't eat as healthy as I used to, as I should. But somehow my immune system and my everything just seems to be better. So physically speaking, I'm healthier than I was back then. Um, my happiness it's a different world. I was just before the 5 years before my transition, I was an alcoholic. I ran a beer pong company with a friend, and we would go to different pubs and stuff. And I've spoken about this before as well. And we would play different beer pong. We would play beer pong games at each night, and I would partake in the competitions every night. So I was drinking 10, 11 drafts, so 500 mils. I think that's a pint overseas. 10, 11 of those a night, quite comfortably, with 10 tequilas, with an array of different shots every night. And then I'd wake up, have KFC, repeat. And and it got to a point where I was physically an alcoholic. I could not function without it. Then I realized this was because I had reached that point where I couldn't pretend anymore. I had reached that point where I could not be happy without alcohol. And I've had comments on my transition video where people are like, but you look so happy in your male photos. All those photos I was drunk. Well, the older ones. And that's the thing. I had to rely on alcohol to be happy. Without alcohol, I could not be happy. I could not be happy with myself. If I was with friends, yeah, cool, I smiled. If I drank, cool, I smiled. But I was never truly happy. It was an artificial happiness. And the moment I started my hormones and I came out to the world, I quit drinking. Now, if I have like a Long Island iced tea, I'm like, woo, but I don't drink anymore. So not only am I healthier and I don't get sick, I don't drink. I don't feel the need to drink because I don't need that armor, that suit, that mask. I'm quite happy with who I am. Even if I have my down days, I don't feel the need to resort to that to be happy. I know that I can dig myself out of it. So mentally speaking, I'm stronger than I was back then. I'm also a lot more independent than I was back then. I used to rely on other people for my happiness, for just general life. I couldn't sit general life. I could not sit in a room by myself for longer than an hour back then. Now I'm quite happy to. And that's what I love about photography. I can go out and be by myself for 10 hours and just take photos, and I'm quite happy. So my mental stability has gotten better. Obviously, I went through a lot of therapy before I started my transition, and like now, and I realized that, and it's like I said to the parents who before, the only thing you can control is what your decisions are. I can control my decision to look like this. I can't control other people's decisions to react in a certain way. So if you're worried about your kid being trans, don't, because they've made their decision to be stronger than most people ever will, and that's to be themselves. And there are so many people in society who are never themselves. And I'm not talking about trans or non-trans. I'm talking about people who live in credit, people who pretend to be in a happy marriage but are cheating on the side. I mean, that's lying to themselves. They could easily leave that marriage and go somewhere else. And I'm just saying, to be trans is one of the biggest obstacles you could ever overcome, and people need the support they deserve for that. And the biggest support is from your parents. I could quite happily be rejected by everyone and just have my mom's support, and that would make me happy. But there are good sides. My confidence is a lot better. I speak a lot better. My creativity is a lot better. I'm a lot more set on accomplishing certain goals. As a guy, being depressed and being sad, I had no ambition. So I was quite happy to just be big and ripped, and I was like, that'll get me somewhere sometime. And I literally floated around and did nothing for like the first 24 years of my life. Now I'm going freelance, I'm doing this, I'm approaching agencies, I'm constantly doing something. I have accomplished more in the last year of now doing hormones than I had in the first 26 years of my life. So it's just given me the vigor to embrace life. And that's something I never had. I was, it's funny, like, I'm more scared of things now than I was then, because then I didn't care if I died. And I know it sounds really morbid, but I wasn't scared of flying and stuff because I was like, if the plane goes down, whatever. I'm cool, yo. You know, I would race cars on the streets against other stupid people while I was drunk. I used to drive hammered, you know, because I was like, if I die, so what? You know, I've got nothing to live for, so what's the point? Now, I don't speed. I don't drink and drive because I have something to live for. I have something to look forward to. I'm petrified of flying because I'm scared the person flying is depressed. You know, I'm scared they don't have anything to live for because I have so much to live for. And that's what I want to portray to the parents, you know. This might have the same effect. This will have the same effect for your kids. You know, if you feel that your kid is trans and you feel that they're down and stuff, by embracing them, you're embracing their life. You're supporting their life. And they might be more open to living. Because, let's be honest, a lot of us are alive, but not many people live. And that support that you give them will change that. You know, so it's really all I can say. I mean, there is a lot of positivity. I'm a lot more prettier. Not really. But, you know, mentally I'm stronger. Physically I'm healthier. I'm more ambitious. I'm more willing to live life. Yes, I'm scared, but I'm scared because I want to live. I'm not scared because I'm scared. I'm scared because I embrace my life and I love my life. At this present moment, I am happier than I've ever been. And that's not to say that I don't go through the certain struggles, but those struggles are so worth it. Because I don't mind someone staring at me or someone getting aggressive with me because I know I'm surrounded by good people. I'm surrounded by people who accept me, and those people will help me. I am happy to be alive now. I'm happy that the days I slipped my wrists and the days I cut my legs and the days I took pills and the days I drank and drive, I didn't die. Because I would not have ever experienced true happiness. I would never have experienced this, you know. And I would have never experienced being able to help people who might be going through the same thing. My life was meaningless before. You know, now if I help one person accept who they are, or if I help one parent accept their child, then I have meaning, I have purpose. And that child could go on and speak at the TED Talks or something and, you know, help 100 families, and those 100 families could go and help 1,000 families, and those, you know, and it becomes this ripple effect of acceptance, and not necessarily only for transgender people, but for gay people, for different religions, for different nationalities. It spreads. It doesn't just start with me. It doesn't just start with transgender. You know, it starts with you accepting your child. And once that child finds acceptance, that child might stand up for someone else who's being bullied. And once that child feels acceptance, he might stand up for someone else, and it becomes a ripple effect. I know it's extremely cliche, but it's the truth. So I'm going to end this video here. I hope this helps. If there are any parents out there who watch this and want to contact me, my email address is ask, A-S-K, Nicole, N-I-C-O-L-E, Louw, L-O-U-W, at gmail.com. I'll put it in the description of the video as well. Feel free to email me. If you have any questions, I can answer them in another video, or I can just email you directly. The email is nice because it's private, so you're not hounded by trolls or people who want to cause trouble. And I will keep it private. I only mentioned Belle because they asked me to. So again, hi Belle. Hi Belle's friends. And I hope this video has helped. I know it's been quite long-winded, but it's a complicated subject that is quite hard to cover in a short video. So I hope that you enjoy this. I hope that you didn't mind me being overly dolled up. And I'm gonna go take photos now of me. Hey! Okay, anyway, bye.